Hello everybody, it's Brewer here from Sweetwater Fly Shop, and today I figured I'd tie a fly for you guys. I'm at home, not really doing much besides some ice fishing here and there, and so I figured I'd tie for you guys the France fly. It's not my fly, a fly I've learned for some buddies, and there's other videos out there, and I just figured I'd show you kind of my way of doing it. There's only a few materials. All you need is some pheasant tail, some larva lace like this, some kind of stretch tubing in black, or you can use black thread and use clear. A 2.5 millimeter tungsten bead, I have a bunch in there, and then a good dark dubbing for the front. So I have some rabbit I ground up here that I shot earlier this year, and then or you could go with just like a black peacock sparkle dub kind of a deal. And then you're also going to need a lighter for this fly. And I've also got a size 16 jig hook in the vise. I know it's a little blurry. I'll try to give you guys a better view here and there like that. All right, so to start, black thread, get it on your hook, wind it down to right above where the barb would normally be. And then you can break that little piece off there, or you can trim it. Then I'm going to take off of my pheasant tail here 3 or 4 fibers of pheasant tail. Just like this. 3 or 4. And then just measure this here to the length of the shank of the hook, from the bead to where your tie-in point is, just to give it a nice little tail, and then tie that in, making sure to pin those wraps down on top. It's kind of hard to see, but sometimes your tail, so this tail is definitely too long for this fly right now, right? So if we just take this and just pull, right, we can shorten that tail up a whole bunch real easy. Just do that nice and easy if you ever do it, because you don't want to break your fibers, and you don't want to pull it too short. Double it back on itself, and then trim it. Okay, now we need the lace and the lighter are the next two things we need, or your stretch tubing, whatever you like to use. So I've got this larva lace here. I'm going to cut a little strip off just to make it easier to work with. This is more than enough for a bunch of flies. Now I take my lighter and just kind of melt the end, and then pull it out. So I get this nice little stringy, much thinner bit on the end. It's really hard to see, but you can see kind of how I melted that. Now there's this little curly cue. And that just gives you a much easier spot to tie in, and it creates less bulk at the back of your fly. So first, tie that in. And then give it a really good pull. Ooh. Tie it in really well. And then give it a good pull as you work it back down the fly. Stretch it out so that way you don't build up any mass on the body. Right down to where your tie-in is for the tail. You see that all right? So we got our rib tied in and everything. Now I'm going to take the rounded side of the rib, make sure that's out, and the flat side in, and just with the frustrations of fly tying. Came undone there, so I'm going to have to retie that. No big deal, it happens to all of us sometimes. Just remelt that piece here, I'll show you it again. So I just pulled a little bit too hard there. And I and I accidentally broke it. So you don't want this, especially with this piece that we burned down here at the end, this little curlicue. It's very fragile, and it's very stretchy, but you get a really nice clean tie-in when you get it right. Tie that in. All the way down the fly. 2 or 3 securing wraps, and then take your thread all the way back up to behind the bead. And then wrap this guy forwards. 1, 2, slightly overlapping. 3, 4. It's probably good. Just like that. Trim it out, and then you've got a nice little somewhat segmented body. I know it's tough for you guys to see. I don't have the best lighting in my house, but kind of a nice little segmented body. You can just barely see those bumps. And then I'm just going to take a little bit of this hair stubbing here that I got. Just a little bit. Probably even need half that. Just like that there. Dub that onto my thread. A nice noodle. Push it up to behind the bead. And then just give it a few turns of that. One of the big points of this fly is that there's not a ton of detail to it. You tie it small. I mean, I've tied this up to a 12 for, you know, black winter stones and stuff like that, a 14 or a 12 for those little black winter stone flies you'll see crawling on the banks here soon. But tying them small and nondescript with not much detail is a great way to trick fish into biting your flies without, you know, there's no reason to tie like a size 16 or an 18 fly that has a ton of detail on it, because they can see, but they can't see it that well. So it's just something small and black that it's going to catch their eye in some faster water with that silver bead. And that is it. A great little winter fly here into the spring. And then anytime you've got beta hatches anywhere for trout.